Satisfactory Academic Progress at KTU. You are required as a student to make measurable progress towards the completion of your program. That ensures that your expenses, the money that you're paying to the university, aren't being wasted. Now, students at KTU are required to make measurable progress towards completing their program. And there are several metrics that we can use to gauge this. The easiest one and the most important one for you to be aware of is SAP, SAP, Satisfactory Academic Progress. Now, SAP is pretty easy to figure out. It is the total number of hours that you've earned divided by the total number of hours that you attempted to earn, which will provide you with a percentage. Now, you will need to have a 51% average to be able to be considered to meeting the SAP minimum requirement. In other words, if you attempt to complete 15 hours and you complete 15 hours, then you will have earned a 100% SAP. Perfect. If you attempt 15 hours and you get 0, then you will fall into receiving 0% of your SAP, which is not good. So it means basically you need to make sure that you're passing at least half of your classes, if not more. Now, there's also two types of SAP. There is a term SAP and there is your cumulative SAP. Both of these need to remain above 51%. So students who have an SAP under 51% for any term are placed on academic probation. Students on academic probation that receive a second term SAP under 51% receive academic suspension. Academic suspension prevents the student from enrolling in any courses for no less than 3 months. When you think about getting back into the university, probably going to take about a month, so that equals out to being a full 4-month term that you would be suspended. Here's a timeline for SAP to suspension. You'll notice the first marker here is that the term SAP is below 51%. If that happens, then you will be placed on academic probation. And students must meet weekly with their academic mentor. If you need to know what an academic mentor is, there's a video on that. You'll complete your second term, and if your SAP is above 51%, you will be off probation. If it is below 51%, you will move to suspension. There is an academic appeal, and students may appeal. It's a form that would need to be filled out. You would need to explain why it is that your term, the second term that is, you are unable to meet the 51% mark. How are things going to be different this next term? And then the university administrators will overview the appeal and make a decision on whether or not to accept it or to reject it. Your appeal is not guaranteed. Let's say that your appeal is not accepted. You would then be eligible for re-enrollment after 3 months. If your appeal is accepted, you would remain on academic probation, which means that if your very next term you do not meet 51% again, then you would be right back at facing suspension again. And students who do not re-enroll after 3 months will be considered withdrawn. When we're talking about our SAP, it's easiest to think about it in term SAP, but there's also your cumulative SAP. So your cumulative SAP must also remain above 51%. The cumulative SAP is obviously all of your terms together. So if you get a 0% SAP on one term and you follow that the next term with a 100% SAP, you will no longer have done, your term SAP would be considered 100%. So that would normally take you off of probation, correct? what we said. But if your cumulative SAP is below 51%, which if you got a 0 and you get 100, it's at 50% now. So your cumulative is below 51, you would remain on probation. Even though you got 100% on the last term, you must have a cumulative SAP above 51%. Now, if your cumulative remains below 51% in consecutive terms, that's okay. You just remain on probation. It's where you are on probation and your term SAP is below 51%. That leads to suspension. SAP is progress. Remember that. All you have to do is just continue to progress through your program and you don't have to worry about your SAP. If you have questions on your SAP, you should direct those to your academic mentor or to the Office of the Provost. Telephone number is 844 446 2588.